What happens when a famous country music superstar and a friendly morning show host go head-to-head live on television? What follows is far more explosive than anybody imagined. Jason Aldean, famous for his chart-topping hits and no-nonsense attitude, sat down for what everyone thought would be a normal interview on the Today Show with Roker. But within a few minutes, the whole conversation took a sharp turn, and the entire studio froze in shock. Voices got louder, accusations came out, and before anyone could even react, Aldean was ripping off his microphone pack and walking off the set. This was not like your typical awkward celebrity interview that goes off track. This was something different. If you want to see how one small question can set off a huge firestorm, then go ahead, hit that subscribe button and comment below on whose side you are on. Now, let's talk about exactly what went down on that Today Show stage. The morning started like any normal day at Rockefeller Plaza. Roker was his usual cheerful self, greeting people with his famous smile, cracking weather jokes, making everyone in the studio feel relaxed. Jason Aldean came to the studio around 7 in the morning wearing jeans, a black button-down shirt, and his signature baseball cap. He looked calm, talking casually with the producers, drinking coffee from a paper cup. Nobody had even the slightest reason to think this interview would be anything other than a pleasant talk about his new album, his upcoming shows, maybe a couple funny stories from being on tour. The cameras started recording around 8:15, and for the first few minutes everything went exactly according to plan. Roker opened with his usual warmth, welcoming Jason on the show and congratulating him on his recent success. Jason smiled back, speaking about how thankful he was for his fans, how excited he was about the new music he was making. They talked about the tour dates, which cities he looked forward to performing in, the feeling of being live on stage. Al asked about his kids, and Jason brightened up while talking about them. The challenge of being a famous musician while still trying to be a present father. The audience was loving all of this. This was exactly the type of feel-good content morning shows love to give viewers. But then Roker changed the direction of the conversation. "So, Jason," Al said, still smiling but with a tone that had something a bit more serious under it, "I want to talk about something that has been on the minds of a lot of people. Your music always connects with a certain group, a certain type of crowd. But there has been conversation lately about who feels welcome at your shows, who feels included in the country music space you represent. How do you respond to people who say your style of country music does not include everyone?" Jason's smile faded just slightly. He moved a little in his chair, clearly not expecting the conversation to go in this direction so early in the interview. "Well, Al," he began slowly, choosing his words, "I make music for people who love country music. I don't think about demographics or who is supposed to like what. I think about writing stories that matter to me, stories about where I come from, the values I grew up with. If people connect, great. If they don't, that's fine too. I'm not trying to be all things to all people." Al nodded, but his expression showed he was not finished. "I understand that," he said. "But when you say values you were raised with, when you talk about where you come from, some people hear that as code for something else. There has been criticism that country music and artists like you have created a space that feels exclusive instead of inclusive. Does that worry you at all?" Jason's jaw tightened. You could see his whole body language change. He was not mad yet, but he was clearly uncomfortable. "Al, I think that's pretty unfair," he said. "I have never once said or done anything to make anyone feel unwelcome. My concerts are for anyone who wants to come. I have fans from all different backgrounds. To say I am creating some exclusive environment is just not true. It is a story being pushed by people who do not actually listen to my music." Al leaned forward, more direct now. "But Jason, it's not only about what you say. It is about the images, the themes, the culture around the music. When you sing about small-town life, traditional values, a certain way of living, you have to know that hits differently depending on who is listening. For some it feels like home. For others it reminds them of places where they were not accepted." Jason let out a short, annoyed laugh. "So now I can't sing about my own life? I cannot write songs about growing up in a small town because someone somewhere might feel uncomfortable. That doesn't make sense. Every artist writes from their life. Nobody questions that in other genres. But when it is country, when it is a guy like me, now I'm supposed to apologize for where I was raised." The tension in the room was now heavy. Crew members were looking at each other. The audience was quiet and stiff. Roker, to his credit, did not drop the subject. I am not asking you to apologize, Jason. I'm asking if you understand why some people feel pushed out by the culture that has been built around this genre. There is a difference between celebrating where you come from and building a space that ends up pushing people away, even if you did not plan it. Jason's face got redder. Who exactly is being pushed out, Al? Because I see all kinds of people at my shows. I see families, I see young fans, old fans, people who look like me, people who do not look like me. The only people who seem to have a problem with country music are people who already decided they do not like it, who already decided artists like me represent something that we don't. Al stayed calm, but this time his question had more force. Jason, after your song Try That in a Small Town came out, there was major controversy. People felt the lyrics, the video, the imagery, all of it created a very specific message, and that message made a lot of people uncomfortable. Do you understand why that happened? And there it was. Everything changed in that moment. Jason's whole energy shifted. He sat up more straight, he stared directly at Al with a sharp intensity that made everyone nervous. Here we go, he said in a low, sharp voice. I knew this is where you were going. You didn't bring me here to talk about my tour or my album. You brought me here to set me up with this garbage again. Al held up his hands in a calming way. Jason, it's not a setup. It's a real question. That song created a national conversation. You cannot act like it didn't. Jason pointed his finger at Al. National conversation? You mean a forced controversy created by people who wanted to twist my words into something I am not? That song was about protecting your community, about not tolerating crime and violence. But instead of listening to the actual words, people projected their own assumptions. And now you are sitting here on national television doing the same thing. Al kept his voice steady, but it got sharper. Jason, when you release a song with lyrics about taking matters into your own hands, filmed in front of a courthouse with a known violent history, you must expect questions. You must accept responsibility for how your message is received. Jason suddenly stood up. The sudden movement shocked everyone. Responsibility? You want to talk about responsibility, Al? How about the responsibility of media people to tell the truth instead of pushing their own storylines? How about not twisting someone's words to fit a narrative? Al stood up too, his voice more firm now. I am not twisting anything. I am asking you direct questions about the work you put into the world. If you cannot handle that, then maybe you shouldn't be doing interviews. The entire studio froze. Jason stared at Al for several seconds, his face a mix of anger and disbelief. You know what, Al? You're right. I should not be doing this interview. Because this is not an interview. It is a setup. Jason grabbed his mic pack, trying to unclip it from his belt. A producer rushed toward him, trying to calm him down, but Jason waved him back. Al stood there, arms crossed, watching all of it. The audience was frozen in their chairs, unsure if they should react or if this was somehow part of the show. But everyone's faces showed clearly this was real. This was happening in front of them. Jason, come on, Al said in a lower voice. Sit back down. Let's talk like adults. Jason finally got the microphone off and tossed it into the chair. Talk like adults? You ambushed me on live TV, accused me of building some exclusive environment, brought up a controversy that was blown way out of proportion, and now you want to talk like adults? No, Al, I'm done. I came here honestly, and you turned this into a hit piece. Al shook his head slowly. This is not a hit piece, Jason. These are questions your fans, your critics, and the public want answered. You are a poo.